Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Changing Room podcast. This is episode 6. Really excited to share this episode with you all. So today I spoke with Courtney Phillips, who is a local designer here in the Cleveland area. And I actually realized only when she came over here for the recording that I had met her years and years and years ago through another friend. So it's really serendipitous how it all kind of worked out. But basically, she has worked in the leather making industry and for a total of about 8 years. And in total, she also worked in the general fashion industry for 15 years. So she is a leather making artisan in every sense of the word. And she now has a brand of her own that she started about 7 months ago called Harkin. And she creates mainly custom made designs, and her pieces her whole brand's philosophy is about, small batch tactics and kind of focusing on, slow making designs. And so we talked about really a lot of things in terms of slow fashion, how production happens, how, the time and the energy that goes into making pieces. So I'm really excited to share this discussion with you all. And thank you, as always, thank you for being here in the Changing Room. Well, thank you for being here, Courtney. Welcome to the Changing Room. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to chat with you today. I know we were just kind of musing about how we've met before and we forgot. We don't need to get into it, but I just think I really do love coincidences. That's what I texted you, and I think that's so true. When there's just little serendipitous moments like that happen, which I think are common in Cleveland. Yes. But yeah, I'm so happy to have you on the pod, and excited to talk with you. Yes. So kind of my first intro question for everyone, and especially if you're watching the video version of this, we share just everyone's outfits, what they're wearing. So Courtney, what's the story behind your outfit? What are you wearing?
I have a PSA for everybody.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, Arvella. I have a PSA. I was just saying. I'll first say I decided to wear this outfit because I wanted to present professionally, and this might be the most professional thing I have.
Really? Well, I love it.
I thrifted it recently from Avalon in Hingetown, and I have not been there in a few years. I stopped going there because I found that there was just a lot of cheap stuff there, but I was looking for a warm winter coat because I don't have one. And so I was like, I'm just gonna hop over there real quick because I was going to an outdoor thing, and I was looking around and found such quality pieces and great materials, great construction, vintage pieces. And this was a piece that I got.
It's beautiful.
And
oh my God.
Thank you. And when I was checking out, I said to the person who was ringing me out, I don't want to even give me the audacity to just say this, but I was like, I haven't been here in a very long time because I've found that the quality has been really bad, but there's a lot of great quality pieces here. And is this intentional? And she said yes. And they're doing more training there. And there's certain brands that they just don't allow to, they don't buy certain brands there anymore. I just know in my circle of people, there have been a lot of people that have stopped shopping there because of that reason. So I've been telling everybody, Avalon and Hingetown is stepping up their game. They're doing more training. I know I asked her, what are some brands that you aren't carrying anymore? And she just told me one of them was Shein. Because there was, several years ago, there was a couple times when I saw some cute things and they were Shein, and I was like, I'll just give it a try. And I wore them once and was like, I just feel so icky in this. So anyways, I'm really I'm like, good job, guys. I love it.
And it's funny you said this because I have also noticed the same thing slightly. Like I got a pair of like vintage Levi shorts recently. I got like a suit vest. They even had, I think, a rack that was specifically vintage for a little while.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then yeah, I agree. I go there probably once every 2 to 3 months. And I used to go there when they were in the Lakewood location.
Yeah.
And I remember it being okay. I remember and maybe it was just the time period because I was like still like in high school, early college, but it felt more like a Plato's Closet when it was there, but not really bad. I found some like forever pieces there at the time, but that's really interesting. That's good to know, and it's so interesting how like with those kind of like types of stores, like it's like. Is it a thrift store? Is it a vintage store? It's kind of like this in between, but really like they really have a good opportunity to curate the kind of secondhand pieces.
Right.
So the fact that they're being more intentional is really refreshing and nice.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons. Yes, you totally nailed it because that's one of the reasons that I do shop there. It's an easier way to thrift basically. But yeah, for a while, so. It's good.
I love that.
It's good news.
Good to know. No, that is very good. Tell me about your shoes.
Okay, my shoes. I actually don't know where I got these from. These are really
Gorgeous.
old, and I need to take them to a real cobbler because I've glued them together a few times. And I just don't even remember. I rarely ever wear them because they will fall apart. They need to go to a cobbler.
I have vintage, like I have a pair of like, I think they must be like 90s, like Liz Claiborne heels. They're gorgeous. I want to get them fixed up because I wore them out once, like out. Like I went out to like with my friends just to a bar and then we ended up going to emo night and they survived emo night. But then I looked at them the next day and like the insides ripping up and stuff. And I'm like, if I would have not chosen these shoes if I knew where the night was going.
Liz is worth the cobbler.
Yeah.
I love Liz Claiborne.
Okay. Yeah, I love it too. I have like 3 Liz Claiborne bags. Oh my gosh, I have like so much to ask you now that I'm like so many more things to ask you now. So like first could you just tell me a little bit about yourself and that's like a loaded question, I know, but like, kind of could you tell me a little bit about your journey with starting your brand Harkin and making leather pieces and kind of just tell us a little bit about, your journey to where you are now.
Yeah. So I started sewing when I was 8 years old. I remember being home and my older sister, she's 9 years older than me, and so her good friend, who they're still good friends, came over and was wearing this bag that I had never seen anything like it. And my 8-year-old brain just was like, how could this be? And it was like a mixed, I don't remember exactly what it looked like, but I remember there was mixed fabrics to it. And she said she made it. And that was the first time for me that I realized that could happen. And so my parents, I'm really thankful, have been really supportive. And my mom took me to Joann's that day. We got
that same day?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I know, I guess we had nothing going on that day. So we got some fabric, we got a pattern for a bag. She had a sewing machine at the house in a closet. I'm the youngest of 4, so I think by the time I was born, she just wasn't sewing anymore. I didn't know that this was a thing. And so that day she kind of showed me the ropes on the sewing machine. Yeah. And it's so funny now looking back that the first thing I sewed was a bag. It's weirdly full circle to me. I never finished that bag. I did not like working with patterns. And so I basically taught myself to sew. I just kept making things and I enjoyed trying to figure things out. I think it was, I don't know, that must have been a moment where the engineer side of my brain really got encouraged and lit, I guess. because I remember making just anything I could think of, slippers, aprons, just anything, a backpack, clothes. And so, but from that point on, I mainly was working on clothes. And
okay.
I remember looking in my mom's closet and just studying, like, how would this pattern look? And that's how I kind of taught myself to make my own patterns and things like that. And I interned when I was in high school. I interned for a couple of local Cleveland brands, and I learned a little bit more about pattern making there. And then I moved to Los Angeles and studied fashion design at the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising.
Oh, cool.
And at that point, so when I graduated there, I came back to Cleveland because I was really excited to be a part of the fashion industry here in Cleveland.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot there in school, but I remember it was the end of my first year, and I was about to fall asleep, and this idea just dropped in my mind and kind of exploded for a clothing brand. And so the rest of my college experience, I was pretty much planning my clothing brand, which was called 23 Skidoo. And then when I moved back to Cleveland, I launched it. And so I was doing 23 Skidoo for a couple of years, and I was basically just got a little burnt out there. And I was then worked for I was still doing 23 Skidoo, and I started working at a leather bag company, and I completely fell in love with leather construction. And
was this at Fount or somewhere else? Nice.
Yeah, I was at Fount, and so I worked there for a little over 8 years.
Oh
I
my
was
God.
head designer there, but basically, 23 Skidoo just kind of just dissolved. It just kind of took.
Yeah.
I was a little burnt out, and then it just kind of just stopped. Just kind of quietly went to sleep.
Yeah. Well, that's better than anything more dramatic. Sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. For
things
sure.
end naturally. Yeah.
Yeah. And so let's see. So when 23 Skidoo ended, I mean, it was still like in my heart. I feel like 23 Skidoo was there were so many aspects about it that was very much my whole heart and majorly a reflection of myself and what I love. And so I would say maybe about every 6 months since 23 Skidoo has ended, I've had another idea. So let's see. So the last collection was in 2015. So I've had an idea, like I think every 6 months since then, of how I would like to revive it, whether it's 23 Skidoo or not. I've definitely got an entrepreneurial spirit, but as I was falling in love with leather construction and bag design, that was just an aspect for me. But I've been digging into this idea of, okay, if I was to start, another company, like a clothing line or whatever it is, how could it be something that I could thrive in? And as I was learning more about fashion, the system of the fashion industry, and what a fashion brand could be built on that could make everybody thrive, from who's making the material to the earth, that the material, how is the material or the people making the material affecting the earth, and then going on to the business side of it. Just basically, how could a fashion company thrive in every single aspect of it, which is basically asking the question of sustainability.
Yes, sustainable in like every sense of the word.
Yes. how like could that exist? And that was a question that I was really digging into for a long time. I was very curious, is it possible for a fashion brand to exist that is sustainable in every single way? And
including for yourself.
yes, yeah, yes, exactly. I mean, oftentimes it is the person at the top that it is most sustainable for, but nobody else. But I mean, not all the time, but that's what we can see often in fast fashion brands.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, there's so much that I have been processing there. You know, and another aspect of it was I've been processing my own patience in creating pieces, and I feel like it's been interesting because it's been, I think, about 6 months or 7 months now that I've started my brand Harkin, and I'm still kind of putting together puzzle pieces of what I have been processing over the past 8 years or so. And so it's when people ask me, I feel like I'm still tinkering away at some,
You're still
putting
in the
some
process.
puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of, I feel like that's the best way to be, probably. Like, I don't know, I think in that way, I don't know, it's so easy to get focused on like what the like end result, like what is my X project or whatever going to look like when it's finished and full-fledged and clear, but it's like, is it ever even going to get to that point? I don't know, I feel like believing that everything is in flux is probably a philosophy that's given me the most freedom, I think, creatively. Just being comfortable with that. Because, and especially for me, I feel like I'm such a chaotic person when it comes to my art. Even like I write my essays so like chaotically. I do a lot of like ideas and brainstorming and ideating very like chaotically. And for a while I was like, I need to have everything. I mean, organization's fine, but it's like being so obsessed with the end result. You're not present. You're not clear-headed, you know. So I'm happy to have you here in whatever, you know, phase you're in. That's like part of the fun for me here.
You're nailing it there.
What enamored you about leather specifically?
Yeah, I think leather is more sculptural than fabric, in my opinion. I think, and to be completely honest with you, I realized recently, I think another reason why I love leather is that I hate like dealing with raw edges.
Oh yeah.
Of fabric. I mean, I think fabric is a fascinating material, and I don't think I realized how fascinating it was until I started working with leather a little bit more.
So you can compare and contrast, kind of.
Yeah, I guess so. I remember when I first started working with leather, it was so much more difficult to me than working with fabric. That I remember when I would go home and make a dress for 23 Skidoo or something, I would be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm playing right now. Like this is so much easier than leather. But now that I'm basically much more experienced in leather, I think fabric is fabric is fascinating to me because there's so many different types, and there's just so many ways to play with it. And so I think to say that leather is more sculptural than fabric is probably subjective or something. But with leather, I think that's when my journey of patience kind of started, because when you puncture leather, you can't undo that, and so you really have to be more thoughtful with the material. And gosh, I think that is part of why I fell in love with leather too. Is just the force, the way you have to be thoughtful about it. Is very different. And maybe I was just so comfortable with fabric that I just basically treated it like, I don't know, I would just push it around, and it was like
It's more malleable, maybe a bit, or I don't know.
Like I feel like
it's different.
I don't know if when I was working with fabric, I didn't have the reverence that I do for it now. And so, yeah, I think when I started working with leather, I was just in a different mindset. And why else do I love working with leather? I mean, there are so many different types of leather too. So it can just be so many different things. I just love the sculpturalness of it though. I started working with ceramics and woodworking in the past several years, and that too, there's something about those materials. The more I've worked with one of them, the better I've gotten at the other. They somehow are all similar. Yeah. So I don't know. I think there's something, I think there is something sculptural to it.
Yeah. I love that. No, I really love that. So you mentioned patience, and I thought that was like such an interesting just like theme that also kind of felt serendipitous for me, because I'm trying to do like a word of the month, like kind of an intentional word of the month just for myself. Like sometimes I tie it in with like my content and stuff, but kind of a word I try to like meditate on every month. So January was patience for me, because I was like, I feel like I always find myself in January being like, oh, I want to do all of this. Let me plan out the whole year. Let me figure it out, blah, blah, blah. I get very like motivated. I get always very motivated around like the new year, but I really force myself to be patient. Like, how does like the theme or philosophy of patience kind of work into like having a fashion brand, especially like you were saying in a world where the industry is so a lot of times opposite of patience. It's more like demand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The term fast fashion is like
it's not patient fashion.
Literal. Yeah. Yeah. Very literal in so many ways. Okay, so that's funny that you mentioned the new year with the word patient, because to answer your question, and then perhaps I'll unfold it a little bit. I think my philosophy to have patience in the work is to enjoy the work and is to be present in it, and like to like be fully engaged in every moment of it. And that's very different than the way I worked for a lot of the garments that I've made, and that's how it was contrary to that. But it's, definitely with leather, with making bags too, I've been impatient. So it was, what would happen with me in the past was I would be so excited when I would start to make something that I could not wait to see the end result, that I would, like, let's say it was a Saturday and I was making something, I would do whatever I could to make sure it was done that day so I could like wear it that night or something. But then the end result was always, it was never what I wanted it to be, never what I hoped for it to be. And that was because of my patience. Like, it could have been, but I was just, and it wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I was excited, but it was basically almost ended in, I don't want to say it was a waste, but it was not what it could be, and then I would always be disappointed by that. So it was not working out for me. It wasn't working out for anybody. But so at the beginning of 2022, January 2022, I was like, this is the year I am going to enjoy the journey. And so that was my perspective in terms of patience. Let's enjoy the journey. And I needed that for other aspects of my life too. Like, I would even notice it if I was going on a hike or something like that, and I not knowing where it was ending, like if I wasn't familiar with where I was, there was something about that. I'm like, can we just get to where is this supposed to go? And so I've had this issue with it. And I remember a page turning, actually, when it wasn't actually something creative. I was in Maine last summer, and so this was, I think, June of 2022. And my husband and I were kayaking to a island, and we couldn't tell how far away it was because the trees were huge. That, I don't know, and we weren't familiar with where we were. Right. But we were kayaking there, and it was also, the tide was in, so there was the aspect of like not knowing how long it was going to take and how long the water was going to be there too. And so anyway, we were kayaking there, and I was like going as fast as I could, because I was like, we have to get, I don't know, I just wanted to like get there and see what this island was like, see if there were skeletons there or whatever, you know. Which, by the way, once we got there, it was terrifying. But anyways, I didn't catch anything weird, but it was just terrifying. Anyways, but so I remember because I was exhausting myself, we paused at one point, and he said, this is beautiful. Let's enjoy this. And that was literally from that moment, that is somehow when the moment turned for me, even though I had been trying to, I had been mindful of enjoying the process up until that point. But that moment, I was like, what am I doing? This is beautiful. Like, I'm going to miss this if I'm not enjoying this. And that has totally transferred to my creativity since that moment. And so I think, so yes, looking at when I'm creating it, something now, just delighting in every single part of it and being present with it, that is totally shifted in me, and it has been for the better, and I'm really thankful for it. And it's just the slowest fashion. No, just kidding.
Is it hard to balance that with, I guess, how do you try to balance it with the business side of things?
Yeah.
Both with your last brand, and current one in general.
Yeah, that's, I think, well, yeah, because I'm a one-woman show right now. And so, especially when I am really taking my time to create something, it's hard to find time for everything. And so it is hard to balance that because there's a lot that I want to do with my brand, with my business, but it takes time. And I think if I am going to be a slow fashion brand, that's okay that things are going to take time. But that is something I've been thinking about lately. I think something that I really could use help on for myself is just to make sure that I'm as focused as possible. Like, it's okay that I'm going slow. That's the point. Because also whenever I do work fast, I always mess up too. So it's never worth it. If I am trying to kick it up just a little notch or something, it's easier to mess up at that point. And then it's like, okay, well, that was a waste.
And it's so interesting how in our culture, like how, slow is a lot of times seen as bad. Like, you're being too slow. I want my Amazon shipped to me like overnight, right? I want it yesterday. I want it now, and fast is seen as good, as like, efficient and, whatever. But like you just said, fast a lot of times means, you're messing up. You're obviously not enjoying the process, but also like the product's not going to be as good, not as high quality. Like, obviously I'm like stating the obvious here in terms of fast fashion, but I think just those words we use is so interesting. So what is, sorry, this is kind of a loaded and vague question too, but just like, let it unfold. Like, what does slow fashion mean to you?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that's a good question because that's good that you asked that, because these are, I try not to use in my marketing and just language with my brand. I try not to use words like sustainability or slow fashion just because it's so overused that I don't know how many people really know what that even means. So I'm glad that you asked. Slow fashion, I think, in the truest sense, is reflected in every aspect of a piece getting made. So that would mean in the thoughtfulness of the design, and then that would mean in how it's produced and how it's being marketed to and sold. And I think a lot of times internally to the company, like what is that process looking like for a company in terms of getting the product to the customer. So fast fashion, ways you can see a fashion brand is are they trying to sell to you like every second? you know, like they're doing basically fast fashion brands are thirsty and they're trying to do whatever they can for a sale.
Constant.
Yeah, and always something new and
New collections, new drops, new
and so
Yeah.
much product too. Yeah, so yeah, I think that with slow fashion, it is very much what's happening internally, and then the external will unfold from how the internal practices are happening.
Yeah. That's so true because like, you know, a well-made piece made well internally will then translate as a more sustainable practice, sustainable item for the consumer, you know, because it'll last for them longer. And then they don't, you know, and this is, I mean, just kind of an example, but like, yeah, just like it won't lead to them like buying more things or. So it really is kind of that begin to end process. I think that's why I've been really enjoying like I've really loved like TikTok the last 2 years that I've been on it because I think there's been I was, you know, following Instagram fashion communities, you know, slow fashion communities on there for a while, but there's just something really exciting and like refreshing about maybe it's just the younger generation, but it's people of all ages, honestly, on the app talking about like the focus has really shifted on like kind of personal style and like, you know, how to get things that last instead of, I mean, trends still exist, obviously, fast paced trends, all of that very much exists and fast fashion exists, but there's just been this conversation happening that I think, you know, I hope it means people are getting it because, yeah, it's interesting how it involves both sides, like who's buying it and who's making it for slow fashion to be slow.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've been thinking so much about this with my personal style too. Because in terms of what I do with Harkin of creating leather goods, okay, what is going to be happening with this bag and for how long is definitely in the forefront of my mind when I'm designing pieces.
Yeah.
But my personal style too, like it's something I've been thinking about so much lately. Because I like, for instance, I have my mom's cowboy boots from the 80s, and there's other pieces that she has that I'm like, those are forever pieces. And I've been thinking about it with my own wardrobe. Like, this was a piece that I was thinking, I'm like, this is a piece that I would like for my children to have.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about, as I've been shopping, I've been thinking about that. And sometimes it's really hard to decipher. I mean, to decipher, because even if something is a trend, like cowboy boots have gone in and out of trends, you know, but I think trends aren't necessarily bad. I think the context matters.
Yeah.
And also looking at trends of like, is this a trend that will surpass other trends? You know, that's something that. But
Trends are, I think, can be exciting in the sense that a lot of times they're reflecting what's going on in the culture.
That's the most interesting about
Music culture, the movies we're watching, like the shows that are hot right now, like just the attitude of, you know, country to country, like internationally but nationally. I think that is most exciting to me. It gets to be bad, I mean, when it's just focused on like the speed and kind of like you have to buy this to be fashionable, but you know, like you just said with like the cowboy boots, and I mean, I've been discovering so many amazing pieces from my mom's closet too. Like it's funny how, like suit vests, like I've been seeing suit vests coming in, and I've always loved vests, period. I've loved just having like a cool, like a simple base and then just draping something interesting over it. So I found my mom's like old like embroidered blue suit vest, and I was like, this is me. This is 100% like me, and I'm gonna have it forever. And I recently found like old photos of her wearing it, and I'm like, that's so crazy. But it's also on trend.
Yeah.
But so you can sometimes dip in and out of them kind of as they feel good to you. But the experimentation is part of the fun too. So I think I'm very like, I try to always have a very nuanced view about it. It's like, because I think part of the fun with fashion is playing. You know, but just, you know, you got to be responsible for yourself too, and what you're bringing in, but also with what you're taking out. You know, because I think sometimes we bring in a lot, obviously, you know, haul culture, we like buy, but then equally I think sometimes we're like this, like it's springtime now, it's like, I'm gonna clean out my closet, I want to start completely over. Like, that's not really doing that many favors for the environment or ourselves either. So yeah, it comes back to slowness too.
I know. That's hitting me, Arbella, because I have felt so lost in my personal style since 2020.
Me too, because of the pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
Well, for me at least, partially. I think a lot of things, but that's part of it.
Yeah, that's got to have something to do with it.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I started Harkin, so we were going into fall, and I was really inspired to. I was really getting into the workwear thing, and so I was thrifting some pieces that was workwear, and I had the man who taught me how to woodwork. He's passed now, but he was like 96 when we became friends. Aww. And so anyways, he was my muse. I was like, I'm gonna be like Mr. Kibbe. This is my vibe right now. But now that I don't know, that was definitely a moment for me where I'm like, I don't know if that really is me. So that's part of why it's been on my mind. Cause I'm like, I thrifted a handful of pieces that I'm like, and I don't know, I don't like having stuff that I'm not going to wear. And I think that might have been a trendy moment for me or something, because now something I've been thinking about to try to discover my style is what is type of pieces or style that I loved 10 years ago and I still love.
Yes.
That's been a way for me to kind of discover. But I love that about trends too, like you said, that it is a reflection of our culture, and that's history. And
you want to be part of, well, and I've mentioned this in the last episode, I love how they all weave together kind of, is how fashion is a conversation. Yeah. And I think that's how trends can be. Like, I mean, you could view it in a more like pessimistic way, like trends are fabricated for us to buy more and more. But like I said, I think it does reflect what everyone's talking about, and you want to be part of that conversation, not as of a like, I want to be like everyone else necessary. But I think a lot of times people are just like, this piece that right now is, or this type of styling right now is just interesting. What is it saying about how we're feeling right now? It's like, this is kind of like a weird turn, but I saw a video like a while back, and I keep meaning to like do a bit more research about the fashion trends shortly after 9/11 and how they were looking, because they were very like chaotic at the time, very like futuristic, but kind of almost like this broken futurism where everything was just kind of messy, chaotic. And it kind of made sense, because then as we went into the 2010s, there was like what they call, the indie sleaze, that's as we're looking back on it now. But yeah, that's like an extreme example, of course, but it's like historical events impacted, revolutions impacted. So yeah, I think, you want to be timeless, of course, but like you still want to be part of the conversation,
right?
With trends.
Oh, that is so interesting. I actually saw a video recently. It was on Instagram. Somebody comparing the fashion in the Depression to now, and really specific stuff. Like there's designers who make garments from fabrics already. Have you seen those? There's some designers that are making garments out of like tea cloths and potato sacks and stuff like that. That was happening in the Depression. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember there other specific. I think there was some suit styling that's trendy right now too. I forget what else, but
patchwork maybe.
That might have been.
And quilted, because like patchwork is kind of like literally piecing things together and like letting it show, like not hiding the patch workness, whatever. Yeah. Oh, that's been very trendy in the last like 2 years, especially around like the pandemic when, people were working from home. You kind of people wanted to like wear a quilt and stuff, and it's just so interesting. It's
I
so
know.
interesting.
Oh my gosh, that's wow. The 9/11 thing though.
I need to look more into it, but yeah, it's kind of like there was like just like a lot of ripped, garments and like all this like kind of trying to speak to kind of this like chaos that everybody was feeling, this kind of like dread. So I thought I really want to do more research about that, but somebody on TikTok was like talking about it, and I was like, I didn't even think about that. Wow. And in terms of like bags, I'm trying now to actually look back at my own history with bags.
I was just thinking about mine. I had the
Like
ugliest bags.
Tell me, describe it.
remember, I mean, this is when I was in 6th grade or something, but I remember having like pink corduroy little shoulder bags.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, it's funny because I just started knitting, and I decided maybe it would be fun to check out Sex and the City for the first time while I knit. I don't really know anything about that.
I've only gotten through halfway through it, so I'm kind of with you. I've only started watching it like 2 years ago.
Yeah. But it's been funny because what made me think about it was a purse that one of them had. It was the tiniest purse, and they were like, "Look how small it is." They were like showing off about it.
Yeah.
But I remember those little shoulder bags, fabric bags. I mean, I don't know if that's just because I was young, but
yeah,
like pink corduroy sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I remember my sister got this bag for her birthday that was this little pink shoulder bag that just had feathers all over it, and I just remember she sat there and cried.
Why?
That's a fun memory. Just because she was overwhelmed with the amazingness of it.
Oh, okay. I was like, was it unrelated? But no, I love that.
Yeah, that's fun. Anyways, yeah, purses. I remember bowling bags being very cool. I remember the bags, like the definitely faux leather bags that were like Mrs. Timberlake.
Yes.
Those are, I don't know.
Yeah,
I haven't thought about this in so long.
I know. I was trying to think of it, and I'm trying to think when I, as a kid, really started to get fixated on bags. Because when you're a kid, like, you obviously, like, don't need to carry anything around.
Right.
But, like, there was some kind of, like, special feeling. I don't know. I mean, for me, it was definitely, like, I wanted to look like my mom. I wanted to, I wanted to also just, like, grab something, and hold it like this and just, like, have, like some stickers or a hair clip in there. I remember I had this, it was the brand Mud. Remember that brand? And it was like this light purple lavender, kind of like that top. And like, it was kind of like a sports bag. Like, it was and my style when I was little was very tomboyish. So I think I just really liked it because it was just very like, it looked almost like a little camera bag, and it had little pockets. It had a little, cell phone pocket.
Yes.
And I didn't have a cell phone at the time. I think I was definitely just like 12 or 13 or something. And I loved it. I also drew all over it, and I recently had found it a couple years back, and I'm like, why did I draw all over this? This would I could have. But it's funny though, because that style of bag is now I have my own grown-up version of that. I found at a thrift store a DKNY like nylon bag, kind of like this. Instead of purple, it's like black, but has just a little more sleek. Yeah. And I'm like, to this day, I still like having a bag like that. That's just very utilitarian, simple. Like, I use it just when I walk the dog, or I just really need to quickly go out. Sometimes I like to dress it up just if I want to wear something. I just want to make an outfit more casual. But it's just, I literally just thought of that connection. I'm like, I have a grown-up version of that little bag, which I guess it was kind of like my first ever purse I had.
That's so funny because that actually does remind me about how old were you when you had that?
I think I must have been like 12.
Okay.
11 or 12.
Okay.
And then throughout like some years after that.
I remember maybe early high school discovering, I remember I had a bag from Forever 21 that was a leather woven like hobo bag.
Oh, hobo bags.
And and I'm like, I don't remember it exactly, but the idea of what did you used to love and what do you still love, like, I still love a good, like, a really timeless hobo bag. And I remember having some bag from Urban Outfitters. It was like I think it was a fabric hobo bag, and I can't even really remember it, but I remember thinking it was the coolest thing I had, but I barely even remember it. But anyway, I remember the feeling of it. But and I definitely still love a good, like maybe more sleek now, but
Yeah.
it is fun.
Yeah.
I like that. I think there is something to the idea of what did you used to love that you still love.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to ask if you have any thoughts, if any, on luxury bags in general, or just the culture of it, the cult of it. Because I've been doing a little research here and there for myself. I've been, I love the Real. I love just scrolling through there and finding like cool pieces. And I've been really only in the last like 2 to 3 years have just been learning more about designers in general, kind of how, collection works, kind of what pieces are out, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like down a rabbit hole looking at Birkins, not to buy one, God no, but just to just curious about it because of like the cult behind the Hermes bags. And then I was looking at like Celine bags too because I really liked Phoebe Philo's designs. So I'm just like curious, like what are your thoughts on just like luxury bags? Do you have any favorite brands or anything like that?
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna adjust.
Just as you need.
I love that you would ask that because I think that is a whole world. Oh my gosh, it's a whole world. And I'm not somebody that really keeps up with every single designer or anything, but so I think there are certain brands that I think it's so strange. But then there's other brands, and I can get into it, but then there's other brands that I'm like, I don't know, I'm going to New York this summer, and I am going to go to the Row. Yes. I got to touch those bags. I'm so excited for it.
Oh, I love that for you.
Yes,
I truly do.
Thank you. I cannot wait to see what their bags feel like. Because to me, I mean, I haven't seen them in person, but their bags seem, in my opinion, they seem worth the cost. I mean, it seems like they have. I think they use real leather. I think they use maybe a lot of calf leather. I don't remember, but they just look really well done. But I don't know. Gonna have to go.
No, I would love to know literally your opinion. Like, what are your thoughts on it? Because I mean, you definitely seeing it in person is definitely a whole different thing than online or whatever.
For sure, and they don't show a lot of photos online too. So. I'm excited to check that out. But then, there are certain brands like Louis Vuitton bags are $10,000, more, and I think they go more and less than that too. And a lot of them they're basically just plastic. So a lot of people don't know that.
Interesting.
Really? It's not, I'm
not
like
surprised,
plastic
but
coated. Wow. It's not gonna age well.
No.
They might have some that are leather. Louis Vuitton has so many products that you can just scroll for days. But.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that's also kind of part of it when you have such a big demand and you're constantly adding more and more things to your product list. I mean, I'm sure some of them are real leather, but it's like eventually you got to fill in those gaps because it's probably just quicker to make, I would imagine, cheaper. Yeah. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Louis Vuitton is one of those brands that, I mean, I can't imagine why else you would get it besides for the status, personally.
And a lot of people do.
Yeah, right. It's like, because you can get a lot of really great designs and great quality bags that are not that, and that are lower cost, better quality. And so I don't know. I think that's probably the status culture is real with bags. I mean, the handbag people are. I guess maybe am I a handbag?
Are you a handbag person?
Wait,
what does that mean?
Because I mean, there's just communities of people on the internet that
kind of like sneakerheads, handbag heads.
Exactly. And I've observed it from afar, but I've never engaged in it. But I think leather bags. So what's interesting about it? I've been thinking about it recently in terms of furniture because it's something. I mean, a good leather bag. It should cost a lot of money because. If it's a good quality leather bag, the material is expensive. It's not something that can just get thrown together. It takes a skilled crafts person to put it together, and of course, if you're getting a thoughtful design to like, there's a value in that. And so, and for unless you're somebody who buys a bag that you have a different bag with every single outfit you have, which I mean that's just a whole different thing. I don't know. I carry the same bag every day, and so just like the investment of getting a couch that you sit on every day or a table that you eat at every day. I don't know. I kind of think that a leather bag, I think that those are comparable in a strange way.
No, I believe that. I see it that way too.
Yeah, it's like, because it's something that you bring with you throughout the day that you are trusting, that you're basically putting your trust in.
Yeah.
And I think that bags and shoes are kind of similar, or like a red lip or something in a way, as in terms of styling. If you're wearing sweatpants but then you put on those shoes or a red lip or that bag, you can all of a sudden look a little bit different.
I literally did that today. When I ran to Target, I was just wearing a ripped up t-shirt that I love and a pair of leggings and just I think I wore boring shoes too, but I just got this Tory Burch bag and I was just like, I just feel like now it's like an outfit, and then I forgot what shoes I wore. But yeah, like the shoes and the bag kind of like tied together make you feel like, I don't know, it's just something really nice.
I've always been fascinated by that, specifically with shoes. It's this game you can play when you're in the line at the grocery store or something like that. And I don't mean for this to sound judgmental. It's not a judgment like a game or anything.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's an interesting thing looking at someone's outfit compared to their shoes.
Yeah, observing it.
The shoes, you can tell so much about a person, I mean, in a way, about their shoes. Or more so, you can tell about their fashion from their shoes, not the outfit.
No, I agree. And I feel like that definitely depends on how, like, you don't even have to be into, like, shoes necessarily, but it does just, like, the type of shoe they're wearing. It just, I'm the same way. I was even considering starting maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I was considering starting an Instagram page where I chronicled shoes that I see around Cleveland, but I don't want to be creepy. But I've seen people do like like in New York or all over, like where people like take photos of people on the street. But I just like recently was seeing a lot of shoes around. Like I've been actually kind of getting into sneakers, just like vintage sneakers, and just figuring out the type I like. There was like this, they're called like the Onitsuka Tiger Asics, and they come in like a bunch of crazy colors, and they're the one style, like the yellow, there's a yellow style that was worn by Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. And
I know what you're talking about.
Part of her like yellow outfit. Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know. I kind of just, I found out about them through TikTok because I'm on fashion TikTok and I just learn a lot through there. And I was like, oh, these are so cool. I like them. So I have a pink pair, I have a black pair. One day I was at Duck Rabbit in coffee in Cleveland, and I look down and I see someone wearing the yellow ones. And I can't even tell you, I felt the need to come up to this person. And that's what I mean, like how like fashion can be a conversation. I'm like, am I really just going to, well, I should have just come up and just complimented his shoes, honestly. But like, I just was like, I felt like, and I did snap a quick photo for myself. But yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, like just kind of how shoes can kind of serve as like a little, same with bags too. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, vintage sneakers. Like I think I could be a person that would get in. Like there have been different times I've researched it, but I've never gotten fully into it.
I never thought I would, but I'm kind of like I've always loved it. I've always loved like a good, comfortable shoe. And I've kind of like, I don't know, but just kind of looking around, and there's a lot of good just kind of options like on eBay. I'm just such an eBay head. I just love like looking through the different designs. But I was going to ask something else about bags. What was I going to say? Oh, like one thing. So I wrote about kind of the idea of like repetition in one of my essays like months ago. And in it, I specifically talked about Jane Birkin. So her style was obviously amazing in like the 60s. And I don't know if you, I don't know if you know this story about her bag. How
about
she,
the Birkin
yes, her Birkin bag, and how she, when she was a little bit older, would, like, there's just like these archival photos of it, of like, there's beads all over it, there's stickers, there's like, it's worn in, it's like ripped up, it's like overflowing with all her stuff. And I've just been seeing more people from this generation there's literally a trend on TikTok of like, I'm going to Jane Birkinify my purse.
Wait, okay, hold on. So you're saying that I don't know much about Jane Birkin. I know like the story about how the Birkin bag got.
Right. So
she would, with the Birkin, it was once the Birkin bag was made, then she would kind of basically, it's like having ripped jeans in a way.
She just would, she wasn't even like, it was just how she wore it.
Okay,
just really captured people's attention.
Yeah.
At the time and still now, because it's like this, it's like what? It's the Birkin bag, how $10,000 more?
Yeah.
And I think she got it for free because it was like named after her. But like, I don't know if she had multiple, but there are these just like these iconic photos of it where it's like worn into the ground.
Yeah.
And there was this juxtaposition with people seeing how people would keep like Birkins in like glass cases and have them untouched, which is like, if that's like you're a collector, like whatever, I get it. But it was just kind of like this kind of, I don't know, I couldn't stop thinking about it, about how like she made it her own. And now she's inspiring even this younger generation now, where I'm seeing people kind of like any bag, like literally like a bag they thrifted, a Liz Claiborne bag they thrifted, being like, I'm going to Jane Birkinify it. And they go around their house and they're like, here's some beads, here's an old sticker, here's like a little charm from my childhood. And I just thought that was so cool that that's what people have been noticing. I don't know. So I don't know what I'm trying to say that, but oh, geez, we're an hour in. But yeah, I don't know what I'm trying to say with that. But like, I don't know. I feel like, things are made to be worn.
Yes. I mean, okay, so what I love about that is you can't do that with the bag that's made with a plastic top coat or made from pleather. But with a real leather bag, like that, you can do that with. And so I love that. I have seen...
Let me try and find it.
Yeah, I would love to see a photo.
Let me try.
I have seen, because the Birkin bag is a very, all buckled, security, all that. But I've seen like the look of it unbuckled and very kind of just so casual.
Disheveled. Yeah.
But please show me a photo of that, because that's what I love about that though, is that's a sign of a good quality bag. If it can be so worn and still look sexy and
chic,
totally chic, and like still it not be frayed, or because you can still take care of it, and it'll still last.
It's not as worn in this photo, but that's just an example of how she kind of like customized it. And I think the Olsen twins kind of have some photos of them wearing theirs. There's just this really iconic photo where it's literally like, it's like an art. It's just like art. And like she has like a key on it and all this stuff. But there's another photo out there somewhere where it's like worn into the ground. Like, she doesn't, it's not something like so precious.
Right.
Like obviously you got to take care of it, but I don't know. I've always loved that about clothes too. Like I have a lot of things in my closet that have rips, whether intentional or not, and I really like that. And if it's pre-ripped, like I just think it creates a cool texture. But if it's like ripped from like something, I don't know, it feels like an imprint from my life.
Right. It's a part of your own history.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. So I know that people have said before, with a new leather bag that I made, they've been like, I'm scared to wear it, and it's like, no, like you wear it, be tough on it. As long as you're conditioning it and still taking care of it, like it's meant to go through the daily rough stuff,
Yeah, because doesn't leather like even change in color over time? Yeah.
The term is like patina, like it will, the leather, the natural oils from it will kind of come out, and so it kind of in a way creates its own protection. And
that's so cool, because it's like it's living and aging with you.
Exactly.
I thought that and going back to brands just really quick, I have recently become enamored by vintage Coach bags.
Yes.
And I recently got, I don't know, I posted it on my Instagram. Recently got this like shoulder bag at this vintage store. Of course, I only have like hold on. But yeah, and so now I have about 3 of them, And I'm just like, there's so many like good ones out there. And like, I just got educated on TikTok. Like, yeah, they're out there and they're generally affordable. Like this one I recently got was at a vintage store in Cleveland. All Things For You. Love them. Shout out. They're so great. $70. Like what? Like, here's just a quick.
Oh my gosh.
It's this one.
Oh yes. Oh yeah, I know that one.
Ergo, it's called, I think.
My friend has that one. It's the perfect size.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's going to be really my like new everyday bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many of them. They're all, I know that maybe about like 5 or 6 years ago, Coach started like taking in their vintage bags and repairing them and reselling them.
Yeah.
So I think they're maybe that, I don't know if that was, but that's definitely changed. I don't know if they're harder to come by now or anything, but I used to see them all the time. I feel like I see them a little bit less
Like at
now.
thrift stores and stuff?
Yeah. But oh my gosh, the designs are like that design. Have you seen the one where it's two sides, but how do I even describe it? It's like it's oval, and then the front and the back mirror each other, so they go like this.
Maybe.
It's
It's a crescent style kind, or
okay. Actually, I have no idea how to describe it.
it's okay.
But anyways, there's just some really timeless designs that are unique but so simple.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. Yeah, that's what I love about it. And I've been just finding most of mine from either independent vintage sellers or on eBay. There's also this guy, I need to send you actually his account. I know you're not on TikTok, but I'll just send you some individual videos.
Okay.
He collects Coach bags and he restores them, and it's basically like ASMR, like him just kind of talking to the mic and like cleaning it, and he just collects a bunch of them. And I've been learning so much about like cleaning leather bags and stuff like that. And
yes, please send that to me.
I will, because I think you'd be very into that. I'm sure he posts on Instagram too, but I want to ask a little bit of, if this segues kind of naturally, like about your kind of vision for your bags, kind of where your inspiration comes for like the specific designs, because I mean these little accordion pieces, I think it was specifically the clutch, I gave a shout out on my TikTok. Like I thought there was just something about them, they're like modern, but I obviously love vintage, but something about them spoke to me in terms of like being modern and vintage. So that's kind of how my interpretation of them. But I obviously want to know, what are your thoughts on your own designs?
Thank you. Yeah. The accordion wallet, I have the crossbody too.
Can I look at it?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. It's loaded. Okay, this is going to sound, but it's like way too loaded with cash right now.
Are you just like, is that like a humble brag?
I realized I was like, this is going to sound weird, but
I love the
it's a little stubbed right now.
But, I love how it just stands on its own.
Thank you. Yes, I know. Okay, so this bit, and I need to condition it, but yeah, so this wallet is where the reason why I designed this wallet was because actually the brand Mulberry inspired me, because I was looking at their wallets one day, and that was the first there was this one wallet that was the first time I ever was like, I want to buy this wallet, because I don't know, I feel like wallets are such in a way a throwaway item, like you know, nobody ever sees it, it just and I don't throw away,
but they're still important. They're really important.
Exactly.
Like
they're so important.
I think I've had the same, I have a Fossil wallet, and I've had the same one for years, and I genuinely love it, but it's like usually the last thing I consider buying, like, oh, I need a new one. I need a refresh, you know?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Right. And because it's like, it's not the thing that you're showing off or anything, but it is, looking at Mulberry's wallet, there was this one that it was such a design, and because oftentimes, I don't know, there's a few different ways that wallets function really well, and they're usually just really simple, and that's like the design that every brand has. But I was really inspired. Like, I want to have a wallet that I love, that like every time I take it out, I'm really excited about holding it. And I want to put as much thought into a bag design that I would put into a wallet design. So that's why I created this. And it started with, I wanted to have a really interesting body. So that's how I wanted to do that kind of accordion style. And I'm really construction driven and inspired, and I never made anything with that kind of construction, so I was just inspired to try that out. And then that hardware, it's like a belt tip. I had one of those that I bought years ago just because I loved it, and I was like, one day I will use this on something. And I finally was like, okay, this is what I'm going to use. This is what I'm going to use it on, and I basically just kind of put the pieces together through that. And making that design, and then my shoulder bag too, I do look for my designs to have a somewhat 70s inspired feel to them, and the ginkgo leaf like has been an inspiration for me right now. And I think the way the ginkgo leaf shapes and flutters, it reminds me of a very specific type of 70s feel. So that's basically what I'm kind of going for in my designs in this season. Because I know that, kind of going back to it, I know that's something that I've always, I've loved. So that's kind of something I'm leaning into right now.
So did it first come to you as a wallet, and then you upgrade or made it larger, I guess?
Yeah, because as I was showing it to some different friends, they were like, I feel like it, like they kept on hearing feedback that it feels like a purse but very miniature. And so then I was like, oh well, maybe I should just make it into a purse. And
but that's so fitting, because you literally were saying how you wanted to put in the same care as you do in making bags and making a wallet. So it's kind of like a mini little purse. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I have some other ideas of I'm like really, really hoping to be able to process some other ideas of how I want to make them into a handbag. I have some ideas, and I'm hoping this year I can get to it.
Yeah. And this one, is this just called the shoulder bag?
Yeah, I don't really like coming up with names for bags, so I'm just like, I'm just gonna.
It's the shoulder bag. I love it. I mean, what was kind of the thought process behind this one? Was it because it's very simplistic to me in the best way? Like, I love it.
Thank you. Actually, this was another thing where there was some different construction techniques I was wanting to try out, and then honestly, some accidents kind of happened in the meantime.
Wow.
And then his bag got discovered.
I love that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that I am realizing right now. There have been some other projects that I'm working on that I think free flow in design is something I'm really wanting to lean into right now, because that is part of how this bag got discovered. And oh my gosh, I love this bag so much. And my wallet, I don't know. Maybe that's weird to say.
No, but I really love that you love it. That's amazing. That's like all you want to hear, really, from you know. I mean, that makes, I think, other people as excited about it, that like you just feel such like excitement about it.
True.
You know.
Thanks. Yeah.
I adore that.
Yeah, because I think in the historic, like I think typically I really plan things out, but I think these designs and some other stuff that I've worked on, there is something to say for just starting with one thing and then just seeing how what can be discovered with kind of improvising the design. So that's something I'm doing right now.
I love that. What is kind of the biggest difference from designing items? So when you worked at Fount, you were the head designer there, helping, I'm guessing, with just like product development?
Well, I would, let's see. Well, I was gonna, I don't know, it kind of changed over the years as the company changed, I guess. But basically, when there was just a bag or a new design that they wanted to do, then I would do competitive research, and then I would kind of work with other members on the team, and it was pretty collaborative. And I would then make the samples and everything, and then bring it to life and either teach the production team how to make it or teach manufacturers how to do it.
Yeah, because I was always curious how that process looked, and now, like, what's kind of the biggest difference now doing it on your own, kind of, and like, or I guess kind of like figuring out this. Well, I guess because you're the main drive, I guess, of the creative side of it.
Yeah. Oh man, it's so different because since I'm doing everything on my own, it's definitely different because wait, sorry, was your question about the
Just kind of the biggest
creative aspect of it?
difference from being, designing for a different company and now having your own, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah. There's a lot of freedom because with bigger companies, there's a lot of different aspects to why a design is coming to the market for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is just because, the creative director wants to see a certain bag, or sometimes it's because the customers are, really asking for something, or maybe it's because just there's certain trend forecasts or something like that. But for me right now, Harkin is very much just I'm doing what I want with it, and I started Harkin partly to be able to just really explore what I could do with bag making.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't. I mean, the owners of Fount were so supportive of my creativity and of letting me explore for sure. But at the end of the day, like I have to do my job and get what the customers need and are asking for. And so, but with owning my own company, I'm like, maybe I'll just explore this for a day.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I am like struggling with the time for that right now because so what I mainly do is, because I realized I didn't mention this earlier, with Harkin, I am creating custom designed leather pieces for people.
Yes.
I, and I love doing that. That's my business model, but I am also really excited to be able to see how I can stretch myself with what I can do with leather bags, and I'm hoping to get more ready designed pieces too, to be able to have more of an offering there, because I only have a few pieces there for that.
Yeah. How do you think kind of working with custom designs where people kind of are, giving you more like a specific idea of what they would like, do you think that process of making custom designs helps inform like your own designs, and like kind of it gets you inspired for what you might want to make as a standalone design?
Yeah, actually, because some clients have come, they know exactly what they want, and not necessarily design wise, but like function wise. And so there's certain clients where we are starting from square one on everything together. And that's always fun. Like I love that challenge. But then there's been a couple other clients that they've just been like, could I please get a clutch? I'd be like maybe we could start with some stuff I already have got going. Is there aspects you like this? There is this one client right now that what I'm making for her, I think I definitely am I think it would be a really desirable product for a lot of people. So I'm excited to tweak it a little bit to be more like for a ready-made product. But then there's a friend who reached out, and she wants something that is pretty specific. That's not like anything I have, but yeah, kind of same thing with her. I'm like, let's look at what I currently have and let's see. There's just certain depending on how much. There's different reasons why I do that. Like sometimes it's because they have a really small budget, so I'm like, all right, like we can't spend a lot of time on starting from scratch. Or other times it's just because I'm like, we already have some ideas here, maybe we could play around with it, But
that's so cool how it's like, kind of how collaborative doing custom pieces is, you know.
Yeah.
Like you get to know kind of the, you know, other people's style. And I'm sure, like, again, it's like informing just in general future pieces, you know. I would imagine it's probably like, you know, difficult to sometimes think about like what would like the masses want, or kind of what would a larger group of people want. But, you know, at the end of the day, like if it's not for them, it's not for them.
Right.
What's kind of, I guess, for your kind of designs, like what is kind of like the type of person you imagine carrying around your bags?
Yes, I'm happy you asked because I love my clients and they're all so different. But the connecting piece for them is they want something that they're going to be able to be carrying for a long time, like the rest of their life, perhaps. And my clients really care about the sustainable aspect of it. So, so that's something that we really share. And I would say, I mean, the things that are identifiable for my clients are people who aren't looking, or people who are looking for that thing that they're going to be able to rely on for every day, and then for something that is helping thrive, that kind of thriving that I was talking about. Like they love the story behind it, behind my leather, and the leather that I use is traceable. For not all of it is. It depends on what they choose, but there's some of the leather that I use is traceable, and it goes back to the regenerative farms that the animal was.
I was going to ask
at.
about that. Oh, what does that mean, traceable, exactly?
Yeah. So okay. Well, thanks for asking, because it basically means you can trace the material back to the origin. So, the leather that I get does not go through a lot of hands. That's why I use it.
Yeah.
There's not any mysteries to it.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
So basically, the traceable leather that I use, I source it from a tannery in New York. It's called Pergamena, and they work with regenerative farms in the U.S. So for when I receive a hide, what a traceable hide will have a number on it. So I could call Pergamena and be like, I have this number, where is it from? They could tell me the exact farm it came from. And some farms are so small, like they could even tell me the name of the animal. Wow. Yeah.
Talk about traceable.
Yeah, we're talking traceable.
Yeah.
Yes, that is kind of the foundation of Harkin to me, like in terms of slowness, in terms of thriving at every part of it. That means no mysteries.
Yes. Yeah, like you know where it's coming from, you know where it,
I know all the ingredients.
Yeah.
Go into it. Like I've been to the tannery and like have seen it in action, and there's not secrets between me and my tannery. And then I'm gonna visit one of the farms, it sounds like, with them. So
that's so cool.
Yeah,
because I think usually especially with big companies and corporations and brands, like they don't even when like some kind of scandal comes out about like workers' rights or something, and there's like a factory in China or somewhere where people are like being treated poorly and stuff, and the company's like, well, we didn't know. I'm like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
That you don't know.
Yes.
and I think these places, they get so, this is just a larger conversation about capitalism in general, but it's just like, it's sometimes so tiring. Like, why does it have to be so big? Everything has to be so big, more. Why? And kind of talking about a bit of the negative side of what I see, like sometimes on social media, kind of, influencers or somebody's wearing like a cool, anybody like showing like their outfit, let's say, immediately the whole comment section, where'd you get this? Drop the link. That's just been so fascinating for me to watch, because it's like, I'm like, this is what's like creating this demand. And I like, and a lot of more companies are doing this too, like smaller, sustainable, like the idea of like slow batch, and how, or small batch, not slow batch, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of small batch, kind of like you have a set number of like pieces and like, I mean, what do you think about that kind of like in terms of sustainability? Like, would you say that maybe the most sustainable thing is just to make less?
Yes.
Which sometimes maybe means not everyone can have something.
Yeah, 100%. There is so much. There's like in Chile and India. I think I could be getting those countries wrong, but there's just deserts full of mountains and clothes.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. And I just read the Clothes Horse podcast today, just posted some facts about how much, I think it's like 30 billion garments of clothing get made every year that don't even get to the customer. And like 30, I think that's the right number.
What's the name of the podcast?
Oh wait, A Clothes Horse?
Oh, I've never heard of that.
You gotta get on it. Oh my gosh, it has been such a huge resource for me. She worked, or the host Amanda worked in the fast fashion industry for many years and for different brands, and she's become an activist for.
So she's spilling it.
Oh, she's
spilling
it. Yeah,
I love. But yeah, that's a crazy. No, and that's. I feel like from like sometimes consumers just don't see that.
Yeah, no,
and understand that it's like there's just so much being made. Like let's not even talk about like if we don't even talk about the things that are being thrown out, but just like the things that are being made and just never reach the customer is mind blowing.
Right, and
mind blowing.
Like we gotta be fostering a culture of curiosity too, because to be wondering where did this get made, how did it get made, what is this fabric, like what is polyester, what is linen, like what is that, and how does it I don't know, just fostering a culture of curiosity I think is really important for
I love that.
things like this. But
asking questions,
yes, because it's Target is a very normal thing to just go and you don't know where it came from or anything, and it's just a part of our culture. But to be curious about like how did all this stuff get here and where does it go? And like last week, there was like all these winter coats here, and now there's all these swimsuits. Where did all those coats go? I don't know, just stuff like that, And
that's such a good point.
But yeah, I think small batch, I'm really happy to see so many independent designers doing this more. And like I ordered a dress from an independent designer a few years ago, and she makes them by order. So you have to pre-order it, and it took like 3 months for it to get to me, but I had no problem with that. Like I mean, I've worn that dress so many times.
And hey,
but yeah,
patience.
Yeah, patience. There we go. Exactly.
Patience ties it. We're tying it all back.
Yeah.
And I talked about this a little bit with another designer I spoke to. So she makes clothes, Ashley Bohannon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, her pieces are beautiful, and she's like she studied couture design.
Yeah.
Like that takes time. My favorite things that she said to me, and probably one of my favorite lines from the pod is, my stuff. She said, my stuff is so good you can turn it inside out. And
I loved when she said that.
And it's like. Yes. And it's like that's what you're paying for and that's what you're waiting for. And I think on the side of the consumers is like there needs to be this I love the culture of curiosity. That's what we need. And just a culture of patience. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to just wait sometimes. Right. Like you can it's not life or death. Mm-hmm. It's a bag. It's a dress. It's a it's not going to kill you. It's not penicillin. Like that's kind of a quote from my favorite drag queen Katya. She said, I don't know, she used that and now it's in my head. But yeah, it's not the end of the world. And yeah, I think we see there's still a lot of impatience, unfortunately, like from both sides. Right. And you can't really point fingers at, well, you can point fingers at the big guys, obviously, but and I know the consumers, they're just kind of like. They're using what's sold to them. Right. But yeah,
the fast fashion, we have become so impatient as a culture because we're allowed to get things that day, like you said.
Accessibility.
Yes. But really I think that's just, we've come so far from we've come so far from knowing the intimacy of how things get made, and like we clothes and stuff, bags aren't a reflection. The making of it isn't a reflection of our community anymore like it used to be, and that's again something I'm trying to lean into.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, with this small batch, I mean, basically that's how you can have a production without being wasteful. And so I think that's a really wonderful thing and then because another thing about fast fashion is you buy so much, and so you will do whatever, you have to sell that stuff because you've invested into it. And then, whatever, but then you sell it so cheaply, you're also selling it at such a cheap price that knowing that you aren't going to be able to sell all of it, so you're selling it at a price that you're going to be throwing away so much of it.
Yeah.
Like it's basically it's buying it so cheaply but at such a high cost that people are getting exploited and not getting paid fairly or treated fairly. There's a lot of different points to it. That I think that maybe somewhat the start of my journey of learning was that documentary, The True Cost. Did you see that?
Maybe I have actually.
It came out a while ago.
I think I need to rewatch it because I think I saw it, but yeah.
Yeah, that was my first time of getting introduced to even farms that aren't organic are the pesticides that are being used are so toxic, and I just realized that I went to this place and now I'm like there's so much complexity to it. But okay, wait, where was I?
Small batch.
Oh yeah, wow, I got there.
That's okay.
I think when you get to the farm aspect of it, there's so much complexity to it, and that's been something that it's been hard to talk about just on social media. It's much easier to talk about it in conversation because there's a lot of different aspects to it. But the True Cost was my first understanding of seeing what an impact there is on people's health, the farmers' health, that are growing, cotton or different material or different plants to make fibers. Their lives matter, and how the plant is being grown impacts their lives. And but there's a lot more to that than just that.
Yeah.
But okay. Wait, okay, so the small batch. Wait, I don't know how I got there.
It's okay. We took a lot of twists and turns. I guess we're talking about just kind of it takes, I don't know, the less items you have, the less, I don't know, it's just about changing, I think, the culture, but also there's just so many sides of it, obviously. But I just like when I see this things, because it's I'm definitely someone who gets so enamored by a piece I want, and it's I think there's this other conversation happening about kind of how we on social media or whatever we use the word need, I need this item, I need X item, it's well, you want it, so it's that's okay, but it's again, it's not life or death. Another thing I was thinking about, I don't know how it relates, but obviously relates, but it's just kind of the skill of sewing, right? I know a lot of us have taken home ec classes in high school. I don't know how much they teach it still. I mean, I remember really not liking it, but it taught me the basics at least. I mean, I'm shit at sewing, but if I were to go to a class or have a friend of mine or sit me down and show me how to do it, I could catch on because at least I had the classes, and I just feel that's so important because so many people do not know how to sew. It's not a skill that's really taught. It should be taught on across all levels, because if anything, well, obviously you can mend your own stuff, make things last, but it teaches people the how long it takes to
Right.
make a piece, because I think people's minds are a bit scrambled because of fast fashion, because of everything, because of how fast we get things. People don't understand how long it takes to make a piece and the cost, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
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 That I think is I'm sure a huge reason as to how when you don't know what goes into something, you have nothing to base the value off of. So, yeah,
Yeah. It's just I think we're just used to seeing everything so available. And,
Right.
I see like sometimes it grinds my gears when I see just like on social media or like a small brand like posting like an item, and I always like see kind of like someone in the comments just like, well, why is this so expensive? Like this is too expensive. And it's like, yeah, because it's not, it's not from fast fashion, so it's like, and that's fine if everyone needs to shop by their own means. I understand, but it's like, I just don't like when people take down like smaller creators and artisans who are putting their blood, sweat, and tears into these things. Well, not necessarily, but just like a lot of time and work, and just that needs to be paid for,
Yeah, like so I just made a bag for somebody. It took me 60 hours. Wow. 60 hours. And so it's just like, I guess I would ask the person, how much do you think and then that's not even factoring the cost of the materials, which was around like $700 of just the materials. So it's like,
yeah.
I want to ask those people, like, so just given these facts, how much do you think it's worth? Like, how much would you want to get paid for spending that much time? And then, of course, like, it's a skill too. But anyways, I think I've been trying to be thoughtful of my language around the cost of things, because saying something is expensive is also subjective.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really mean anything except for that person's opinion. Cause I don't know. It's just, I heard somebody say recently, like, I don't say that anymore. I don't say something's cheap or expensive. And it's been really challenging for me as I communicate to other people. If I might say like, oh, well, this is more expensive. Even just that word, I don't know. It just, what is that? It means different people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of depends on who you're talking to, what their budget is, what their, there's so many different factors. And obviously affordability is different for every single person. But again, going back to kind of that, traceability and the knowledge, or like really the lack of knowledge that so many of us have about where our things come from, and like, why do you think the things that you're used to getting are so much less expensive?
Right, exactly.
That's the real question.
Right. And even
no baseline, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like even just thinking about the fact that a lot of stuff is being shipped from another country too. So just even that alone, just thinking about I know thousands of things are getting shipped at once, but it's still like, think about that cost alone of shipping something, and then this shirt is $6. Like, what does that mean? Like, where something's getting cut, somebody's not getting paid.
Yeah. Yep. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
I think we're getting close here. So, another outro question that I don't think I sent to you, but if you don't have an answer for this, that's totally fine. But I like to ask just kind of very generally, what are you loving right now? Is there like a podcast you're addicted to, a brand you discovered that you love? Like, just kind of, give me a list or a thing or anything you're kind of musing about.
I love that question. I really love that. I think that's a great thing to ask people. Well, I just started knitting, so I'm really loving knitting. It is, and like I said, I started watching Sex and the City, but I think I'm done with that show. You're
not gonna finish it?
I don't think I'm.
Yeah, I stopped at a very specific episode that kind of just pissed me off.
Same one. But anyways, yeah, I was like, I'm done here. But so I I just started listening to a podcast. So knitting and podcasting is definitely. Oh wait, what was the podcast?
Wait, I'm sorry. I need to interject because our friend Julianne, got to give her a shout out. She has a YouTube channel called Red Speckled Knits, and we recorded here. Her set is right there by the dressing room.
Oh my gosh.
She has a YouTube and everything. So yeah, she records here.
Wait,
she's great.
It's a knitting podcast?
Yeah, it's a knitting podcast. I've never actually seen one. I need to check out a specific episode. But yeah, she has a really cute set back there, and I think she knits and just I don't want to assume what she does, but yeah, it involves knitting. So I think you would love that.
I love that. Yeah,
I just had to interject and like give her a shout out because obviously produced by the same company. Shout out.
Yes. Okay, wait, what's it called again?
Red Speckled Knits.
Okay, that's great to know because I'm in the knitting world now.
I love that. What have you made recently?
Well, I'm working on a pair of socks.
Love it.
That's my first thing that I'm doing. It's actually for a thing through the Rust Belt Fiber Shed called 1 Year, 1 Outfit.
Oh yes, and I was gonna ask about that too, because I wrote about that last year when I was at Cleveland Magazine. Still, I wrote a quick story about that, and I thought I never got a chance to go see the actual like exhibit of everyone's pieces. But tell me just a little bit about that because it ties in with knitting.
Yeah.
So what's the process like for that?
Oh my gosh, for doing 1 Year, 1 Outfit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know it involves a lot, but I think it's very interesting.
Oh my gosh, it has been amazing. So
Yeah.
it's a 1 year long cohort. I think there's almost 30 people. I think there's maybe 35 people or so who are in it this time around, and we have 1 year to create three pieces of an outfit that where every single part of the material is sourced within the Rust Belt Fiber Shed, which is defined by 250-mile radius of Cleveland.
Yeah.
So I got some buckskin. It's buckskin I made a friend through the Fiber Shed. Caitlin, she tanned it in like the Cleveland area. And then she also made some black walnut concentrate. So I got that from her. She was very generous to let me have some. And I dyed the buckskin with which buckskin is like leather basically. It's like a sweetie leather, but from a deer. So the animal skin is the deer. And so I made a bag out of that, and I also made a pair of wooden soles for clogs, and then I made the upper is from the buckskin, so I made that, and then I'm knitting a pair of socks from a sheep named Emily in Hudson from Ross Farms. So in Hudson, that's why I started learning knitting for 1 year, 1 outfit, and now I'm like,
cool.
I love this though.
Very
I'm gonna
cool.
keep going.
When's the exhibit for that, by the way? Or when does it end?
Okay, so it opens in March 13th in Cincinnati. It goes through June 17th, I believe, and it is at Wave Pool in Cincinnati in what is that cool area called?
Over the Rhine?
Yes, over the Rhine.
I only know that because I recently went to visit my friend there, and I loved it.
Yeah.
Cincinnati blew my mind. If anyone's outside of Ohio, go to Cincinnati.
Right.
Trust me.
The public art, the murals.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh. And there's great
little
shops.
yeah, boutiques, like with a bunch of artisans. I felt so at home because like I just love the like artisan community here in Cleveland, and I just didn't know. Well, I will definitely. One of my best friends lives there. Like I'm definitely gonna check it out because I was so sad I missed the last one. I just think that's such a cool project in general, like that. Praxis Fiber does, but that's cool. Like I love how it like. Yeah,
it definitely ties in. I mean, it definitely ties in with my practices at Harkin.
Absolutely.
And it's been a phenomenal resource for me since I am trying to practice slow meditative work and materials that I can trust from, basically from like small farms or small makers. And I think they're starting the next 1 year, 1 outfit in like the fall or winter. So if anyone wants to join, it's been so awesome. Like, so the community has been so generous and sharing knowledge, and I would highly recommend anybody. You don't really even, you can just, it's about learning and it's just about learning and stuff. But,
so cool.
Wait.
Anything else you're musing about?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have really been rambling.
It's
about
okay. No,
things.
this is a ramble friendly zone.
Okay. Yeah. What else have I been musing about? I just started reading the book, Braiding Sweetgrass. And
I've heard that's on my list.
I'm like 2 pages in, but I'm already highlighter has been out.
You're a highlighter too. I am a highlighting.
Yeah. It's a book for highlighting. For sure.
I love that.
It's been really, it's been beautiful. Like, it just makes me want to just lay on the ground and cry and breathe and just love.
And what's up? What you brought with you? Worn. Is it just called Worn?
Yeah, it's called Worn.
I'm just honestly curious about it because I want to.
Yeah,
I need to add more books to my list.
It's called Worn. It's a people's history of clothing. And I was telling Arbella that I started reading it last year. My friend gave it to me, and it was so good, but I put it down because I got distracted by some other books, and now I think I need to just start from the beginning again. But I believe the author kind of goes through, like, literally historically how different fabrics get made and the history of them, like, culturally and like literally how they get made and how we are where we're at today too. Yeah.
How cool. I love that.
Yeah, I think those are like some main things I've been loving.
I like them.
I'm excited that it's spring.
Yes, I love that it's spring. I know we have a couple more cold days still, but I'm just I put away my winter coats, so I don't care. If it snows again, I'm just going to wear what I have. I don't care. I'm not bringing them back down.
I love that. I support that.
Well, thanks so much for coming on. I feel like we could I do feel this sentiment with almost every guest, but with you as well. Like, I could talk with you for hours, but thank you so much for coming on and chatting, and I hope everyone who's listening enjoyed. But
yes, thanks, Arbella.
Yeah, thank you. And cut.
Cut.